Do you have any type of horror stories for us that you could, like, you don't have to name names, but, like, what are some of your...
I was once told, I'm trying to think how, it was a while ago, but we were told, we went into a home, most of my customers are very wealthy people, but we were told when we went into the home that they wanted the second floor of the place cleaned, and they said, okay, fine, agreed to the price and everything. We went to go up the stairs, and they said, oh, no, the help has to use the back stairs. And these were stairs we were going to be cleaning in a matter of, an hour or two. We would actually be cleaning the stairs. We would have been carrying everything up. And it was one of the only times I actually just left a job. It rubbed me the wrong way. I couldn't deal with it.
And then you punched her in the throat and got in your van and left.
Ooh, I love throat punch stories.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Brad Guy and His Super Friends, the podcast that takes a break from talking Star Wars movies to talk about Star Wars TV shows. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is Mike Bradley.
Hello.
Andy Stolz is back.
Scrolling title, something or another. Ha.
I don't know what that means. And probably at some point later we'll be joined by Josh Zorich. He wasn't too into the Star Wars talk we'll probably be talking about, but he's going to be back later. But other than that, we're kind of back from the holiday. Christmas is done, New Year's is done. How was everybody's holiday? I'm asking you guys, not the listeners. Listeners can't answer me.
Fantastic.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy's been away for a while, so we finally got Andy back on the show after a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You missed it, right? You were sad.
I was very sad.
I was surprised you didn't see Rogue One as quickly as you did.
I know. I was really thinking about going to see it opening night, but it just put it off then, and then like the next weekend I put it off, and then the weekend after that I was like, what the hell? Why have I not seen this movie like 4 times already?
You could have if you waited 4 weeks. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell is wrong with me, honestly.
I mean, honestly, after having watched it 3 times in about, I think, 4 days when it came out, I wish I had spaced it out more. Because like now I feel like I'd go in and I'd just be bored. Through a lot of it, because it's all just like, watch the same movie 4 times in any month, and you're going to be like, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Although I haven't seen it since like opening day, so now I'm like I'm thinking like I kind of want to go back. Like I feel like I'm ready. So yeah, I'll have to talk to some friends, see if there's anybody else out there that still hasn't seen it. That's like, well, you haven't gone yet. I'll totally go with you. What the hell? Always got to look for that excuse. All right, so going into this episode, I didn't really have much of a plan. I think, we're all sort of kind of recovering from the holiday and trying to get back in the routine and work and all that crap. So I thought it might be a little bit more of a relaxed, casual show. And then sort of with that in mind, I thought it would be a good idea to do another one of the, like, What's Up With You episodes or segments that we've done in the past and just kind of catch up with everybody. However, like yesterday, I think, or the day before, Disney decided to drop a mid-season trailer for Season 3 for Star Wars Rebels. And now we feel like we got to cover that at least for a little bit. Because, especially after Rogue One and some of the Rogue One tie-ins, like now this is at the forefront of Star Wars. The Rogue One hype has sort of come and gone now that the movie's been out for a while, and they're gearing up for the next wave of Star Wars content, which is going to hit with Rebels. Which, I guess by the time this comes out, the show will have come back because it hits this Saturday. We're recording Thursday night, so 2 days before. So yeah, we're going to probably start with that trailer, which gives us our first look at the back half of Season 3 of Rebels. It looks like we're going to get a few more Rogue One connections, some connections to the Clone Wars animated series, and I think they're teasing a rematch, I think, that we've all been waiting to see. So let's get into the trailer. What did you guys think, and what sort of stood out to you from the trailer?
Well, I would say immediately the rematch you're talking about, where we get the shot at the end of the trailer with old Ben and Darth Maul. That to me was all I would have needed to see in the trailer. Like the other
really.
stuff, awesome. That's all they had to do, and I was hooked for the second half of this season.
Yeah.
It makes me a little bit sad. I think we discussed this earlier briefly. It was mentioned that I guess this means we're not going to get the Obi-Wan and Darth Maul movie.
Yeah,
at some
we've
point.
been wondering, like, all the hype around, like, Ewan McGregor saying he'd come back, everyone clamoring for an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone movie. And everyone, I think, at least I did, I kind of assumed if they were going to do an Obi-Wan movie, it would be this. It would be Darth Maul tracking Obi-Wan to Tatooine, and the two of them finally settling their score. And we're all trying to figure out why Disney wasn't pulling the trigger on a seemingly no-brainer spin-off movie. And this is why. Probably because they had this plan in the works, probably for at least a year or two, right? Between animation and getting the story hashed out for Rebels, so... Like that, that's a surefire way. So now if they actually do an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone movie, I don't know what the hell it would be.
Yeah, really.
I
I guess you could do whatever happens after Rebels until A New Hope.
So I mean, like, I don't know if there's that much more story there, unless it's just like him dealing with random shit on Tatooine, not necessarily like Darth Maul or anything, but just I
The
don't know.
Hutts.
I guess he could. They're always doing gangstery things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could always
He-
show what happens to Obi-Wan before he becomes the Padawan for Qui-Gon.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, like, if they want to use Ewan McGregor,
Oh,
like,
that's
he's
true.
aged to the point where he could be old Ben. Like, if they did a
Is
younger
he, though?
Obi-Wan story. I mean, he's not where Alec Guinness is, but I mean, we don't have Alec Guinness. We have Ewan McGregor, who would come back as Obi-Wan, who I think did an excellent job as Obi-Wan. So I think if you just give him the makeup and the gray beard and the gray hair, I think that could work.
I mean, I want to see it, but I don't know that we're going to get it at this point because it really is hard to contrive another storyline unless what we see there is a tease to the movie. I mean, for all we know, that's not going to culminate with Rebels.
Oh, that would be such a dick punch if they show it in the trailer and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, nope, you're not going to get it here.
Disney is a bunch of unethical dick punchers, yes.
They should put that on the posters.
What do you mean, like Star Wars Episode 8? It's
Brought
punch
to
in
you
the
by
dick.
a bunch of dick punchers.
Like,
We
mean-
say that, but this is the company that did, like, save Star Wars and give us a Star Wars movie every
Yeah.
year for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm not complaining about what Disney's doing with Star Wars.
they're massaging my
Yeah.
dick. They're not punching me in the dick.
All right, I think we need to move on from that stuff because
How's
this is
that for a
Disney we're
visual?
talking.
Yeah.
Painted
This
that
is
picture
Disney
for
we're
you.
talking about here. They make mostly stuff for kids.
That's true. They might not appreciate my analogy there.
No. Any sponsorship we may have had from Disney in the future is gone.
True that. All right, yeah. So we will get. I'm assuming we're assuming we're going to get the eventual rematch with Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, which is going to be. I mean, they've been leading to that during this season, so
Yeah.
I'm figuring that'll probably culminate. I don't know how early we'll get that. I feel like it's going to end the season.
Oh, yeah, it'll be the cliffhanger.
Well, it's also old Ben too, because I mean he's not
They
quite that old. I don't think at the beginning of Rebels. I think that's going to be almost like a future thing, isn't it?
Well, the transmission that we get, the hologram that is in Kanan's holocron, is basically the message he gave in Revenge of the Sith. So that
Right.
would have been like 20 years earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why he looks a lot younger then.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to see how they play it out.
Yeah. I was
because-
actually, and I've tried listening to the trailer a couple times. I don't know where they get who does the voice for Obi-Wan.
It's like spot on with Alec Guinness. I was like, what the
Yeah.
hell?
And I don't know if it's just like that one line that they like just took clips of like Alec Guinness's like dialogue from A New Hope and just cut it up or melded it together to make a sentence. And if that's how they're going to do it, this could be crazy uncanny.
I mean, all you have to know about that is look at like Frank Caliendo. I mean,
Yeah, he's
impressionist
he's
out there,
very good,
Kevin
yeah.
Pollak. I mean,
Yeah.
there's guys out there that can really nail a voice down.
Kevin Pollak
So-
doing oh god, what's his name?
Alan Arkin.
He does Alan Arkin really well, and he does Christopher Walken really well too.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was just thinking because like there is a line of dialogue in The Force Awakens that uses old Ben's voice, and they cut up Alec Guinness to say the name Rey. They didn't
Right.
get a voice actor to emulate Alec Guinness. They used dialogue and cut it up to make it sound like him.
In The Force Awakens?
So conceivably, what?
In The Force Awakens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of
They-
Rey's vision, it said like you hear a voice that is Obi-Wan's. Well, it starts out old Ben. He says Rey, and then these are your first steps. And these are your first steps was Ewan McGregor, and Rey was audio compilation of Alec Guinness.
Huh.
Like I think they took him saying afraid and morphed it into Rey. So conceivably, if they wanted to, they could cut up a bunch of dialogue like that. But yeah, I think if Obi-Wan is going to talk in this show and use a lot more new dialogue and not necessarily be able to rehash stuff he said in A New Hope, then yeah, it probably would be easier to get some sort of voice actor to do Alec Guinness. But yeah, whatever they did was fucking spot on. I couldn't believe how good it sounded.
Yeah, I mean, they are good at finding things like that when they want to.
Yeah.
So, if it's... I really think there's going to be a good bit of dialogue there, so I would doubt that we're going to see it be the mashup, but I guess we won't know till we know. But
Yeah.
I don't think Darth Maul's going to land and just clash, so...
Yeah. Yeah, alright, so let's sort of spin there. Do we think that Darth Maul's gonna die?
It's a good question.
Because we obviously know Obi-Wan lives, and I feel like this is going to be a fight to the death. I don't see one of them, like them just parting ways and walking away. So I feel like Obi-Wan's got to put him down for good, right?
You would think.
I kind of thought he was dead after Phantom Menace, so fuck.
Yeah, he cuts him in half for a second time, and then Maul comes back somewhere later down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, we're going to have to see, like, a lightsaber straight through the forehead and out the back to be like, okay, he's dead.
Yeah.
There's no question this time. He didn't miss any organs by stabbing him in the chest. He didn't, he's definitely dead.
Or he'll chop him in half vertically.
Oh, yeah, cut him in half the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be any
then he
coming
will
back
have-
from that.
He will have at least got half of Drawn and Quartered done for
Yeah.
Darth Maul over the day. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, honestly, part of me hopes that they just do end it and eliminate that hope of some ridiculous cyborg Darth Maul showing up later.
Yeah.
Because however it ends, he would be cut up even more. Like, he'd lose an arm or both arms or something. He would be even worse off.
Robo Maul.
And
Poor man's
Yeah.
Darth Vader.
yeah, exactly. And I don't think I want that. If I was going to get Darth Maul back, okay, so the robot legs and everything, fine. Just go ahead and have it be a shocker turn up later. But with
Yeah.
everything we've already gotten, it's kind of like, end it. I want to see it end.
And they're going to have to play Duel of the Fates, right? If they fight, like, that's the song choice they
Oh,
have
hell
to
yes.
use.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully
anything-
they do that.
Anything less would be...
Uncivilized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good word. Good word. Speaking of, like, we brought up the voice acting for Obi-Wan. Voice acting for Saw Gerrera is actually going to be Forrest Whitaker.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm actually really surprised they were able to get him for this show. That's fantastic.
It's really cool.
Well, one of the surprises, even if you look at Rogue One, was that Felicity Jones was the highest paid actor or actress in the movie. And that's impressive simply because Forrest Whitaker was in the movie.
Yeah.
There was nobody else there that was going to be a really high paid person in that movie. But Forrest Whitaker can pretty much demand whatever he wants to do a movie these days.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's not going to get Leonardo DiCaprio money, but he can get a lot. And
Yeah, he wasn't in the movie a tremendous amount, though.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, the thing with Felicity Jones in the movie was she was the only person that made 7 figures,
Oh wow, okay.
which means he took less than $1 million to do this movie, and just that to me is just incredible. So maybe he's dropping his price because he really likes doing stuff with Star Wars.
Or-
Maybe he's a fan.
Or maybe they
Maybe-
maybe they caught him with some kind of contract to get him in future Disney movies.
Or, I mean, it could
Could
have
be.
just been like, hey, if you're going to play this character, you also have to play him. We have a plan for him in animated form. You have to come and do a voice. And I feel like traditionally actors almost like doing voiceover work because it's like a couple days' work and they still get paid for that.
Yeah, they can roll up in their fucking boxers.
Yeah. Like, it's a little bit less labor intensive than actually being on set and being in costume for all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say that his Saw Gerrera was probably fairly labor intensive with everything they had to do with him for that.
Right. Yeah.
So
I had one gripe about Rogue One. It's not spoilery. Not to interrupt the Rebel talk, but did the Darth Vader helmet bug you guys, like right around the neck area?
The Darth Vader's helmet?
Yeah.
No.
Like the
I didn't notice
transition from
anything.
like the helmet to the neck to the chest, like really bugged me for some reason. It didn't look right.
too long or something?
Yeah,
too-
or like it was exposed, or it didn't look like because I watched A New Hope after it, and I'm like, it didn't look like that at all. So I don't know. It looked flim flammy.
It's the first I've heard of that word.
Well, I would say they probably just had somebody with a longer neck in the.
In the suit, maybe?
Costume?
Yeah, instead of David
Yeah.
Prowse. I don't know, but that was my only like gripe about the movie.
Okay. Are you excited to see Saw Gerrera in Rebels after you've seen him in Rogue One?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get a little bit more backstory because they didn't really flesh him out too much in the movie.
Yeah. Well, they did flesh him out in Rogue One. He got a lot bigger. Oh,
Hopefully, like he's like less crazy in this one too. Like even like in the trailer, it doesn't seem like he's like mumbling and whispering like Forrest Whitaker was doing. So hopefully, we'll actually be able to understand what he's saying.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean it. The thing is, I mean, what they did in the Clone Wars with Saw Gerrera, and now we're going to see him again older in Rebels, and we see what he ends up as in Rogue One. Are we going to see what happens to him?
Or like why he becomes mechanical and needs the
Yeah.
breathing thing.
Right. Are we going to see some tragic accident here happen, or is it going to be just left up in the air?
That's a good point. I think I feel like you'd almost have to because I feel like this would ram right up into Rogue One. Like it's got to be a year or two away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what bothered me about the trailer for this second half of the season. I was kind of like, so he's still not in that suit. So, okay, maybe we're gonna see it.
How many more years of Rebels did they plan?
That was actually going to be a question for me. Is I don't actually know if they've confirmed, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last season.
Really?
Yeah. I don't at the very most I can see them doing one more. I think season 4 would be it.
I think you may get the end of this season, and then maybe like instead of a 45-minute special like they do usually to open the seasons, maybe get an hour and a half special
Oh, like a movie.
to end the
A
series.
movie. Star Wars Rebels finale movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
yeah. I mean, they do
I'd
the
dig
long
that.
one to open each season, so I could see them doing a long one to close the whole series.
Yeah, and I think if they did that, it would pretty much run right into Rogue One.
Right, that's what I mean. Like explaining how she becomes a general. If it's referring to her, I guess.
Because
You
Andy,
know,
I don't know if you saw. Did you see the ghost in Rogue One?
I did not, but I watched YouTube videos that pointed it out afterwards. And
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, that is the thrusters for the Ghost.
And they mention General Syndulla at the base.
I did not catch that, though. They mentioned that also in the YouTube video, and I did not catch
Yeah.
that in the movie. So I guess
Chopper
I have
shows
to
up?
see it again. Oh, darn my luck.
Oh, I'll go with you. You want to go?
Like honestly, once you watch all those things to show you where to look and when to look for them,
They're pretty obvious.
you'll notice them.
I bet.
Well, Chopper, honestly, the first time I didn't notice him at all. The second time I looked for it and I was like, I don't think that was Chopper. And the third time I got to see it and it was like, oh, that totally was. And so it was interesting to see that. The General Syndulla thing, I've seen the movie 3 times. Brian even tapped me at one point when I watched it with him and said, oh, did you hear they said General Syndulla? And I'm like, no, I didn't catch it. Because it's just like in the background on a PA speaker. Like, it's not
Oh, okay, like paging
mentioned.
Dr. Syndulla.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
essentially it.
Yeah, like it's not a major thing at all. So it's very easy to miss.
Yeah, I think I can tell you exactly when it happens too. I think after that last meeting at the base on Yavin, before they decide to go to Scarif, when Jin comes out of that meeting and she's walking towards the camera, they play that over top of, like, you hear them calling for General Syndulla over top of that.
Okay, I'll have to listen for it. So back to Rebels. One thing I'm pretty excited about is some more story regarding the Black Saber that the Mandalorians have, or Sabine in general,
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
I agree.
I'm glad they're finally getting to Mandalore. Like, we got a little bit of Sabine's backstory with the Mandalorians when she's crossed paths with a couple. But they're actually it looks like they're gonna go to Mandalore on this one.
Yeah. And we got a lot of Mandalore in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And like the little romance thing that Obi-Wan actually had with the Queen of Mandalore.
Satine.
Yeah, that's still one of my favorite storylines, is like their dynamic.
The other thing with Sabine, if you notice, it was very brief in the trailer, but she actually does have a lightsaber in her hands fighting.
Yeah,
At
I think
some point during that trailer.
I think that's
training with
Ezra's.
She's training with either Ezra or Kanan, though, isn't she?
She trains
that was with the black saber.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
in
she
the
trains
trailer.
with Kanan with the black saber. I think she's using Ezra's lightsaber at some
Oh,
point.
okay, nice. The blaster,
looks like
the
we're
blaster
gonna-
saber or whatever.
No, like he has the green
he has
one.
a different one now.
Okay.
The blaster one's gone.
In the trailer, it looks like it must be tied to there must be an episode or a couple episode arc about her, taking up the ruler mantle of the Mandalorians, because whoever had the Darksaber was the one that was sort of in charge. Like, they could sort of set the rules, right? And they would always be challenged, type of thing.
I don't know if that
I
was
thought that
for,
was the military.
Yeah, I don't know if that was for all of Mandalore. I thought it was just for that
Okay.
one. What was the sect that was causing all the problems in Clone Wars?
Vizsla. Or the
Pre-Vizsla.
Death Watch.
Yeah, Death Watch. I thought it was just Death
Yeah,
Watch.
the
Whoever
Death Watch.
controlled the black saber controlled
Okay.
Death Watch.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
'cause
the case.
They even mentioned in the trailer, I think Kanan tells her that, the minute you wield this, you're going to be challenged, and that's why they're training, because he's expecting people to come after her.
Right.
And then there's a shot later in the trailer of her igniting the green lightsaber, which I think is Ezra's. And the shot right after that is her wielding the lightsaber, coming at someone, it looks like in Mandalorian armor, wielding the black saber. So maybe she loses it and has to get it back, so she challenges him again, and the only weapon she can use against it is a lightsaber. So
Could
Ezra
be.
kind of lets her borrow it. That's what I'm inferring from the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's a good assumption. I did notice the guy with the black saber that was coming at her. When I watched it, I just kind of noticed her with the lightsaber, and it drew my attention to, just be like, oh, that's cool.
Right, yeah.
And I lost focus for a minute there, just 'cause it was just like, oh, wait. So,
I have not had a chance to watch the first half of season 3 yet. It's been pretty badass.
Oh,
been good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
It's
hoping we
not-
didn't spoil anything for you now that we've just been
I don't-
talking about it.
I don't think so. I don't remember anything that you guys said that I was like, so.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's been pretty good. I still really like the show. I think it's they're hitting more interesting storylines, I think, as the seasons go on.
yeah.
Although now that I think about it, I don't know if there's too much in the first half of the season that really sticks out to me.
I'm assuming.
The last episode did. I mean, that with Maul and...
Oh yeah, you could the trailer we're watching now, seeing Maul show up going after Obi-Wan. There's a lot of lead up to that
Okay.
Yeah.
in the first half of the season.
Yeah, I'm assuming this
Yes.
is going to deal a lot with Ezra and his balance between the dark and the light or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll come into play.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to spoil anything for Andy, so I'm not going to get in-depth about it, but there is one episode that stood out pretty well to me, that we can discuss at a later time, but it was to me a very good episode.
Was it
The last one was
in the middle of the season, or in the middle of the first half, or?
Yeah, kinda. I couldn't tell you the number of the episode. I don't pay that much attention to that stuff, but it was the Thrawn episode. I think he appears in the first episode and then like the fourth or fifth.
Yeah, he's sort of a little bit sporadic.
Yeah, it was like the second time Thrawn was there.
Okay, I think I know which one you're
about.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, that was pretty good. And actually, speaking of Thrawn, that was another one that I'm not actually sure. I was going to take guesses to see if you guys think he's gonna survive the series. Because this is another character that is fairly well known as far as like Star Wars lore is concerned, but at the time period that they've dropped him in prior to the original trilogy, he's obviously not around or mentioned during the original trilogy. So, does he die, or do they just send him away somewhere?
I was going to say we may see a defection of some sort. You never know. You may see something like that. He may die.
I think the way he worked in the old canon was that Thrawn showed up after Return of the Jedi. It was like 5 years after Return of the Jedi. He was out in the unknown regions, like fighting his own war against stuff and keeping crap at bay out there. And then by the time he returned, like the Empire was in shambles, and then he was able to sort of bring it back together and become a formidable force against the Rebel Alliance. I could see something maybe like that happening, like, in the new timeline, in the new canon, like maybe somewhere after the season or however they get around him or something. I don't know. Maybe there's just more pressing matters that he has to deal with somewhere else, maybe out in the unknown regions or something, if they try to play that card again. And he can sort of just go off there and deal with that. And then by the time they want to use him later, they can bring him back in that gap that's in between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens and sort of find something to do with him again there. I feel like for being such a fan of the character that I am, I feel like it would be a little bit of a wasted opportunity to have him show up in the show a few times and then just kill him off in the show. I would like to see more of Thrawn somewhere else.
I mean, the Emperor might send him to like the Siberia of the Star Wars universe, where it's just like in nowhere's land, like guarding some pipeline or some kind of shit like that, Who knows?
I guess, if we're going to assume that Thrawn's eventual plan against the Rebel Alliance fails, maybe he just gets demoted to the point where they just take him out of rank and throw him off somewhere.
Yeah,
So I could see that could work.
Maybe the Emperor sends him to figure out how to chart the route to Tython. For those who don't know, supposedly unfindable origin planet of the Sith. That what's the word I'm looking for? The lightspeed paths have not been properly laid out, and they're constantly changing. Hyperspace, yes,
lanes.
Yeah, the hyperspace lanes are, the maps and everything for them are gone. They know where it is, but they don't know how to get there clearly, and send him to figure it out because he pisses off the Emperor. Let him risk his life trying to remap this area.
Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe not as specifically Tython, but something like that, yeah.
So should we try to go on record? I'll just go around. Mike, do you think Thrawn will survive Rebels?
My number one theory would be that he's in prison.
Ooh.
Okay.
I like it.
Andy, what do you got? You think he's going to die? You think he's going to survive and just be waiting in the wings somewhere?
I am going to say he's going to be dead.
Okay. I don't know. My gut kind of says he's going to die, but I'm crossing my fingers they save him for something later.
I agree with that. That's why I'm hoping prison, and he's a part of the First Order we haven't seen yet.
I hope that he lives.
Ooh.
I really think he's going to die.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I actually would think Thrawn and Maul will probably bite it in this season.
It's a sad day in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. But I think that's if they actually do go forward and kill both of these main Star Wars villains, I think that would sort of confirm a little bit more that season 3 would be it for the show.
I think they still have to finish Ezra's arc. One way or another, they have to finish that arc.
I mean, they have half of a season to do that.
Yeah, which looks like we're going to spend a lot of time with Sabine, and a lot of time with Maul, obviously. And I know Maul plays into that arc, but at the same time, there needs to be a definite conclusion to Ezra's arc. So, at the same time that we're asking if Thrawn and Maul survive, does Ezra survive? Does Kanan survive?
Yeah.
Because we have to know those things.
Yeah.
You can't leave that up in the air. Or maybe that's their intention and Ezra's going to turn up, just like we say we hope Thrawn does in Episode 8, Episode 9, something like that. Maybe Ezra turns up in that time frame. We don't know.
Yeah,
but
still a lot of questions, I guess. But I do, to your point, I do think they have enough time to wrap that up if they want to, if they're going that direction. If they don't, I would imagine one more season. I think that's all we're gonna get. I'd be really, really surprised if it goes 5 seasons.
I feel like if they try to finish Ezra's arc in the last half of this season, it's going to be kind of a cop-out finish.
That's what I was thinking.
Why? Just because you don't think they have enough time to do that?
Yeah, it's going to be like, oh, this, that, the other thing, like, kind of offhandedly say, okay. And then you're just like, how underwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel exactly the same. It just... I feel like that's not enough because they didn't put any of that in the preview. There's nothing there really thoroughly giving you a hint that we're going to explore that.
Well, I mean, at the same time, you don't want to put everything in the trailer. So I think if that is the plan, they're getting you hooked with the Obi-Wan Darth Maul tease, and then the rest of it fills in. Because honestly, that trailer probably only covered, I could see 3 to 5 episodes. And I don't know how many are left in the season, but there's got to be twice as many.
Yeah, I mean, every season's been like 10 and 10, so...
Yeah, they've been, 20 episode seasons?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah, I've had to purchase them that way. It actually was frustrating. You have to purchase, like, the first half of a season and the second half of the season.
Are you serious? That's bullshit.
Well, I mean, the price is not doubled. You know what I mean? It's like, the price is basically half that you would pay for a season of another show. But it's still annoying to have to purchase it twice, and...
I guess it's just the way they release it. Do half of it now and then just do the other half later.
I mean, they do the same thing with The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead's an even longer gap in between the end of the first half of the season and the second half of the season. I'd just pay one price for that. So
yeah, I don't know then. I usually just get the Blu-ray set later. Are you doing them like digitally through like Amazon or something?
Yeah, I have to. It's my only way of watching it. So...
All right. Anything else that stood out to you about the trailer? Otherwise, we'll try to wrap this one up.
Besides a couple of
go ahead.
Like key phrases that Zeb has, I feel like his story arc is pretty much over, and that he is pretty much just Chewbacca comedy relief at this point.
Yeah, he's the one I think that's got the least amount of stuff to do in this show.
Yeah, and I think
he always plays a big part.
Like,
he's always there to save the day. He's always there to do the grunt work. And
although he still has to have his like final showdown with the guy with the mutton chops, right? Agent Callus.
I don't know. I mean, they kind of parted ways.
Oh, they do kind of. Season 2, they do kind of like look at each other with respect or whatever.
Yeah, they had a little bit of a truce after that. So... I think they might mention a little bit or refer to it at least in the first half of season 3.
Okay, I missed it, so maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
My one thing is more of a absence in the trailer, and that is that they mention Fulcrum, but we do not actually see Ahsoka.
No, I'm assuming the last time we see Ahsoka is when the temple is coming down on her and she's fighting Vader.
Yes.
Well, Mike, in the first half of season 3, it was definitely one of the later episodes in the first half of season 3. The Fulcrum name has passed to someone else.
Right, but they do mention...
They mention Fulcrum. They don't you don't know they're talking about Ahsoka.
Okay. Yeah, well,
I took it to mean they were referring to the person that has now adopted the name.
Which you're not telling me because it's a spoiler.
Correct.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're not going to mention who is Fulcrum now, but I thought they more directly kind of stated it as Ahsoka. I mean, are we left to believe that Ahsoka is now dead?
I do think her fate is left up in the air. Like, if they want to say she's dead, she's dead. If they want to bring her back, they'll find a way to do that.
Yes, for ambiguous.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I mean, is that something that, if they end this, and there's not another show coming with Ahsoka somewhere, where she's going to pop up in the next whatever show...
See, I don't believe she'd have to show up in a show.
Well, she'd have to show up somewhere. We need
right,
an end.
and if they really want to conclude her story in a definitive way, I think it's more likely you'll get a second Ahsoka novel.
Or a statement from Kanan when Ahsoka died at the temple.
I mean, they could do, some sort of line of dialogue that flat out explains whether or not, what happened.
Right, and I don't know that I necessarily would like that, but...
Yeah, I think the off-screen line of dialogue is a cheap way to do it. I definitely think the character deserves more, whether that's something definitive in the show with her showing up again, or, I think, like I said, another novel I think would work.
Do you guys think that we will see anything regarding Ventress anymore?
Yeah, I don't actually know what happened, because they had a whole story arc planned for her in Clone Wars, and then the show got canceled, and they put a lot of her remaining story arc in a book. I think it was called Dark Disciple, with her and Quaylen Voss teamed up in a story. I don't know if that finishes her arc, or if that... I actually didn't read the book, so I don't know where it ends and what it sets up, if there's still another plan for her. But yeah, she could be floating around somewhere that we don't know about. It'd be actually be really fun to see her again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one I've actually seen recently. There's a very large petition out there to bring the Clone Wars back.
Just to wrap up missing storylines and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's one that I hope comes through. I'd love to see them wrap things up with Ventress and a few other characters, of course, and see what happens there.
They would really only need, one more season?
Yeah, I think one more season of that show.
Season, not that bullshit we got.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure story-wise, they at least mapped out pretty much all of the... it would have been a full season 6 if they were allowed to do all the storylines they had ready to go.
Yeah, they just have to focus on wrapping up and not creating new.
Right, yeah.
Unlike the last season of Dexter. I mean,
Jab, jab, jab. All right, anything else for Rebels? I think we covered that pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting excited. And then like we said, I think
blanket.
Yeah, it's so comfortable.
Star Wars.
Yeah, by the time this it's got to be a Star Wars blanket. We're talking Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
By the time this comes out, the premiere episode, I guess, of the mid-season will have aired. So I'm pretty sure that's what we saw Guerrero, right? Guerrero's showing up in the mid-season premiere. As far as
that's what it seemed like. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll be able to see him early and see how long he sticks around and what they want to do with that. All right, so we'll move on to the other segment that we're going to do. We're going to try to do the What's Up With You stuff and catch up with everybody. So now that we've talked about our obligatory Star Wars topic of the week, like I said, we'll move on to the What's Up With You portion. So if you haven't listened to a past episode where we've done this, it's basically a chance for us to catch up with each other, sort of what we've been watching, reading, playing, all the kind of entertainment, pop culture stuff that we're talking about. It's not always really geek related. We pretty much cover whatever we've been into lately. And then sort of just to be clear with everybody, what we're talking about here, we're going to try to be very conscious of spoilers. I'm sure some of us here and probably people listening haven't seen or played or read anything that we're going to talk about, or we'll just assume that they haven't. It's hard for all of us to be on the same page as what we're sort of catching up with. So we're just probably going to try to talk about our own certain list of stuff and trying to give our own kind of mini review and whether or not we'd recommend it to each other, to the listeners, whoever, or if it's dog shit and we don't think anybody should watch it or read it at all. We can go that way too. So, if that sounds good to everyone, I don't know if we have any volunteers to go first through their lineup.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say Josh should probably go first here.
We should probably introduce Josh now that he has decided to come on to the show. That's one thing I forgot to do. I set up the set up the whole segment and then totally forgot. I was like, wait, we have to include Josh in this now that he's here.
I'm Josh.
Terrible hosting duty. I am sorry.
That's no problem. Actually, I can lead off the segment by saying that what I was doing during the first part of the show was watching Underworld Evolution in preparation for the release of Blood Wars this weekend.
Of course.
Which one was Evolution?
Number 2. Which
Okay,
I think is the best out of the series.
That's the one with Marcus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
That's one where he becomes like the half vampire, half werewolf thing. Correct?
Yeah, well, Michael is kind of already half vampire, half werewolf. Marcus is the son of like the original immortal, and he's kind of like Marcus is the first vampire. Yeah, go back and watch those movies if you haven't seen them. They're awesome.
So 3 is the prequel, right?
Yes.
And then I haven't yet to see 4, and then this new one's 5, right?
It is. I probably need to try to refamiliarize myself with the 4th one, which was subtitled Awakening. As much as I love the series, it's definitely the absolute weak link for me. I didn't think it was that strong, and I'm not sure where Blood Wars is going to pick up the steps from and continue on. Like it's a continuation on. Like it's not another like delve back in time or anything. It's moving forward from the end of Awakening, but and there's like a lot of returning characters from Awakening that were introduced in Awakening that are going to be in Blood Wars and whatnot. But I think Blood Wars looks much more reminiscent of the first 2 than Awakening did.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely a good thing. So
good.
That's what I was doing just now. But other than that, recently, let's see. I think on past shows when we have done this segment, I said I was working on the Neil Gaiman Sandman series. Well, it only took me like 8 or 9 months, but I finally finished it. Nice. Which I definitely highly recommend it. I'm not really that much of a comic reader, to be honest. I do prefer, if I'm going to pick something up, I get entwined by graphic novels more than I do comic books. So this whole series is like a 4-volume series of stories called The Sandman that Neil Gaiman wrote. And then there's a 5th edition, a 5th volume that I guess he did with like a Japanese collaborator that's very unrelated to the other narrative, but no less compelling. It's really cool. But I think I've mentioned it before when I brought it up, but I was really now that I've experienced it, the source material, I'm really sad that the Joseph Gordon-Levitt championed film project fell apart. A year or 2 ago. I hope somebody goes forward with it, because visually and stylistically somebody could do something really, really cool with it. Like I'm almost thinking like Guillermo del Toro would be very good for it. I don't know if a studio would go that direction. But it
sure
definitely lends
they
itself.
are moving forward. Even though Gordon Levitt, dropped from the project, I think they dropped because of like creative differences and stuff like that. But
sure.
The impression I got was that the studio was still going to move forward regardless. I don't know if they attached somebody or if maybe they're looking for someone now, but it seems like that film will get made eventually.
I hope it does. I haven't heard any mutterings or seen any news headlines pop up about progress on it, but it could be a good product.
That's a DC Vertigo thing?
Good question. I'd have to double check. I'm not
I
entirely
want to say
sure.
yes. I think it is.
I think it's definitely in the general DC umbrella. I don't know. Yeah, if it's whether it's Vertigo or another one of their like imprints, but yeah, I believe so.
That one comes, and then all we need is to get Alan Moore's Swamp Thing made into a movie, and I will be thoroughly thrilled.
That would be cool. I actually think Swamp Thing would work better as a series. Like, if DC wanted to dive into the world of, like, Netflix-style series like Marvel did, I think Swamp Thing would have a really good home there.
I can't disagree with that.
I don't know why, but I feel like Swamp Thing is going to be a thing at some point. Like, I thought I read somewhere that movie is moving forward somewhere, somehow.
I mean, is it Alan Moore's movie, or is it a...
Oh, no, that I don't know.
I mean, that's the whole thing for me, is it, like, if they're doing Alan Moore's story, I'm all for it. If they're just going to go throw some Zack Snyder onto it and say, make Swamp Thing, I'm not all for that. So...
Yeah, I don't know the details, I just feel like I saw that headline somewhere.
Yeah, I hope so, because before Sandman, I did read the Alan Moore arc, the Saga of Swamp Thing, which again was like a 5 or 6 volume set, which again was really interesting, really compelling, went off in a lot of different directions at different times, but like the first 2 or 3 volumes especially just really suck you in, to like the point where I had seen the 1980s Swamp Thing. I don't think I ever saw the second one, but it kind of... Alan Moore's arc kind of deconstructs Swamp Thing from the point where what that one movie presents of Swamp Thing, he kind of undoes his origin story in a way that like makes it irrelevant. Like, the point is not to care about the scientist who gets turned into Swamp Thing. It takes it off in the other direction of like, well, Swamp Thing is now a creature and a consciousness on his own. Sort of separate from the person he came from. And it goes a lot of really creative directions. So there's a lot they could do with it. So I hope somebody does something with it someday.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Other than that, has anyone read Ready Player One?
Yes.
I kind of blew through that. And for me, I don't read very often and I don't read very fast. It takes me a while, a couple of weeks typically, to get through a book, or, in the Sandman series when I find time over several months. But had a high recommendation from friends of mine for Ready Player One, and picked it up from the library and got through it in about 2.5 weeks. It was really great. I can't wait for the movie next year. I think it's going to be interesting. But just on its own, even as a book, it's really, really original and really creative.
Yeah, if you are a fan of 80s culture and video games, you deserve it to yourself to read that book.
Okay.
There's so many references to that time period and just video games in general, even. Just if you're familiar with some of the gameplay and mechanics of video games, I think you'll get a lot of that. And just the 80s references don't hurt either.
So is it like a unique story, or is it just kind
It's
of
like
a flashback to the video game industry of the 80s, or?
No, it's like a dystopian future where the actual real world is kind of in disarray and the earth is dying and all kinds of crap like that. And the only solace people have is to get into a virtual reality video game. Like, everybody has stations at their house that they log into the game and they live their lives through the video game.
Okay.
Like to the point where they attend school virtually, but in the virtual world they go to a classroom where other people's virtual characters, commiserate in that space, and a virtual teacher teaches the lesson. Like, there's a lot of real world operations, if you will, that take place in this virtual medium.
Okay.
So instead of like learning science, I get experience points in science.
I mean, I guess you're still learning. Like, it's an actual school that teaches and stuff like that. The whole video game part of it, there's the creator of this online world recently dies, or not recently, because I think the contest has been going on for a while, I think, when the book picks up. But
true.
I think when he was on his way out, he puts out a video to everyone that's logged in or plays this game and basically says, I've hidden 3 keys in my world. There are certain hints to get them if you can solve all these puzzles, follow my clues, you get my fortune.
Yeah. Like that's what he leaves. He leaves his entire fortune, which is like several $100 billion, because the world has become so integrated with this product and with this way of doing things that he's become that rich, and he's left like control of his company, all of his stock, all of his influence to whoever solves the puzzle.
Yeah.
And even for me, I liked the adventure aspect of it, the pretext of the video games and the computers and the pop culture references. I guess for me, that was like icing on the cake. That was a way to get me keep reading with that, but just the puzzle solving aspect to it, the problem solving, the deciphering of everything, the deduction that had to take place. That is what kept me going. It's once you start, it's really hard to put it down.
Yeah, I agree.
So that would definitely be high up on my list.
And this movie is due out early 2018 and is going to be directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's actually listed in post-production already.
I guess they were planning on coming out December of 2017, and then they said episode 8 is coming out same weekend. So they pushed it a couple months to early 2018.
Yeah. I mean, if it's in post-production, I mean, I guess there's a lot of special effects, visual effects they need to do, which given the story, I can kind of imagine, but if they're in post already, like at the end of 2016, by like November or December 2016, I was seeing it listed in post-production.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. If they would put it out in like the fall, like September or October, I think that would be a fine time. But yeah, I think it's listed for like March of 2018.
Yeah, I think that's right. And the other thing, I was just actually talking about this to a friend of mine, because he was near the end of reading the book, so him and I were talking about it. But just the amount of licensing that they might have to use for this movie because of all the references that are put in the book, like, I'm really curious to see how that pans out.
That's true. Like, it's got like a Wonder Years level of licensing that they would have to do for everything. Although I imagine to some degree they had to get permission to use some of that stuff for the novel itself.
I don't know. I feel like people could write whatever they want. It's just that visualizing it is where where it becomes the issue.
Yeah, partially. I don't know the copyright laws well enough, but I imagine if you could make an argument that someone is selling their product in part by naming your copyrighted thing within its material, that to some degree they would have had to get sign-offs to use the things that he did. So, and then when you translate that from book to film, there's another world of additional licensing fees and whatnot you have to pay in agreements, and I get all that. But I think it could be pretty good.
Yeah.
Other than that, let's see what I do. I started watching a show from a couple of years ago that was on TV for like 1/2 season or something. It's called Terra Nova.
Was that the dinosaur one?
Yeah, like I guess it was on like network TV. It's okay so
Fox.
far. Yeah, I can kind of see why it didn't last. If it was any more than like the 13 episodes that I see, I probably wouldn't continue on. I'm about halfway through. It's okay. I think it was a good idea. It just maybe wasn't in the right place, right time, right recipe to be executed well.
If that had come out right after Jurassic World, that probably would have been a hit.
Yeah, could have been with different, and maybe not on network TV, not on Fox. It's okay. It's I'm gonna finish it, but it's all right.
Are you afraid that they're just gonna kind of leave dangling storylines because they never got signed on to a second season and whatnot?
Well, I don't know possibly. No, I don't, because it's only 13 episodes. I don't know if they got canceled. I didn't look up enough about the show. I don't know if they got canceled halfway through or if it was a mid-season show.
Or didn't get picked up.
It was a complete season, but it did not get picked up for a second season.
Okay.
That would, because they were hour-long episodes and it was, a first season go, they didn't give them the full reins to go ahead and make 24 episodes.
Okay.
It was, they're giving them 13, gonna see how it goes for a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it didn't get the ratings they wanted, and it got axed after one season.
Mike, did you watch it when it was on?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's a show that you sit down and watch, and it's okay. Like Josh said, it was okay. It wasn't something where I'm going to be banging down the doors asking for season 2, like people do with Firefly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, because it wasn't that level. It was good enough.
Yeah. So given all that, Andy, I guess to answer your question, if there happens to be unresolved storylines or cliffhangers, I probably won't be that tore up about it.
Okay.
But I'll see it through to the end. I guess lastly, I can't believe it took us this long. Sarah and I just finished Luke Cage last night.
Wow.
I was actually, when I was putting together my list, I was thinking about this because we did the first impressions and then never went back to get our final thoughts, like after we finished the show.
Yeah. I maybe finished it a couple weeks ago.
It's something that I think we have to do, but it's been so long since I watched it now. I don't remember half the stuff that I watched now. And it's not that I didn't like it. I did like it. I don't know how much of a discussion we'll have because I don't remember too much.
Yeah, I remember the final battle with Diamondback and how cool that was, and I'd have to go and watch again to actually have a discussion on it.
Well, real quickly, let's just, because Andy, you said you finished it?
Yeah.
All right, without trying to get into too many spoilers, we'll sort of just have our wrap-up discussion now if we want, since we've all actually watched it now and finished it. Because that was the problem. It was I think Mike finished it real quick. I might have been the second one to finish it, but I was weeks later, and then it was finding anyone else that had finished it to try to talk about it. Nobody else had caught up. So it just kept getting put to the back burner, and now that we're all sort of on the same page, I guess we can sort of try to talk about it at least quickly, if we want.
Sure.
Go for it.
All right, well, Josh, what did you think of the show as a whole, then?
It was... I guess I found myself hooked more at the beginning, and there was maybe this lull that it hit in a big section of the middle for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do easily acknowledge that, as a 30-year-old, white guy who grew up in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, there's a lot to that, the way that they made that show, that I was not going to be affected by it in the same way that, just being blatant, that a black viewer was going to have, especially one who was maybe in their 20s or 30s or middle-aged, who had grown up in areas of New York City or Chicago or, places that you think, when I think of New York City through the 70s or 80s, and there are older black people who experienced their formative years during those periods, I think I can see this being a show that they would really love. There's a lot to the character, to the history, to the community development, that is just, by definition, it's not going to work for me. But that's okay, because it doesn't have to. I don't always have to be the target demographic that has to be pleased. That I'm fine with that. Overall, I was really impressed by the caliber of the writing. I was really impressed by the caliber of the acting. I will say, I think I enjoyed Cottonmouth more than I enjoyed Diamondback.
Yeah, I agree to that.
As a villain, as an antagonist. But I was surprised by the end, how it kind of came full circle, almost back to the beginning, and so you were like not really sure whether any progress had been made or not.
I was just going to say that. I don't feel like anything really happened. Like, you watched
Pop
the whole
died.
season and it was good and it was intriguing and whatnot, and then at the end you're like, wait, did we went back to go, but we didn't collect $200. I don't know what.
It's an interesting way to put it.
The thing
I know
that
what you mean.
struck me come the end of the season is that they went the route of leaving Black Mariah alive and out there, and she's out there to be a villain again. And it's kind of like, I get that there's not a long list of Luke Cage villains. He's not known for his rogues gallery the way Spider-Man is, or Batman is, or a lot of other superheroes have at least one or two. I mean, honestly, they dug in to, literally the first couple of comic books that came out from Luke Cage. Those were the villains, and I don't feel like they needed to leave her to continue on, because even at what she was, her storyline was good in this, but I felt like it could have very easily just been wrapped up. I don't feel the need to continue with Black Mariah any further. I'd rather see a new villain next time. This isn't Loki. This isn't somebody I want to continue to see as a villain for a long term. Just give me somebody new.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually one thing, without really getting into specifics, the twist that happened like mid-season, like episode 7 or something.
Oh, that came from, yeah.
I had no idea that was coming.
It came from left field. I had no clue it was coming either.
So that was a fun, when shows do that to me and, catch me completely off guard with something that sudden, like, I'm on board for that. I enjoy that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if you think it's getting stale somewhere in the beginning, if you're starting to watch it, see how you feel after the twist in mid-season, and hopefully that at least gets you through to the end.
So the next we see of Luke Cage, he will be with the Defenders?
I think that's... we
that
get Iron
should be
Fist
next.
Yeah, unless he's part of Iron Fist.
Oh, that's true. He could collaborate there.
I think he'll show up, because they do have a Heroes for Hire planned. So I think we might see him in Iron Fist, but I think the connection between the two of them is really going to be made during Defenders. So, I mean, to me, that's where I think they would do it.
Yeah, I think that's more likely.
Yeah, I will say that this isn't really a spoiler, but it was just it was something they almost kept teasing at it, and I just wish they would have done it, is especially like in the last episode or two of Luke Cage, Rosario Dawson's character Claire keeps saying, I know these lawyers, I know these lawyers, I know a lawyer. I wish, maybe not even Matt Murdock, but there was absolutely room for like a 5-minute Foggy cameo.
Yeah.
It absolutely would have fit.
Yeah.
And honestly, without even being like egregious.
Maybe they're leaving that for like the connective tissue for the Defender connection.
Yeah, maybe.
Honestly, Josh, I had the same thought during Jessica Jones, too. Like, every time she ended up at a police station in trouble, it was like, oh, here comes Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess I wonder if those appearances will become a little bit more common after the Defenders, like after everybody meets each other. And then when they go back to their own shows, maybe they'll pop up a little bit more frequently between shows. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the only ones that have met are Luke Cage and Jessica.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Who knows what we're going to get out of that after,
I would say it didn't have the same effect on me as watching the 2 seasons of Daredevil or Jessica Jones, but it was a good stepping stone to get to Iron Fist, and so it hasn't, sullied me from wanting, that next path, so I'm glad we had it.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think I guess my least favorite out of the 3 or the 2 other series that we had, Jessica Jones and Daredevil. I don't know where I'd rank it as far as like Daredevil season 1, season 2, that kind of thing. But
Right.
I think it was good. I liked getting more of the character. I'm anxious to see him play off more people. I think he'd work well playing off of like Jessica Jones and Matt Murdock and everybody.
I loved his arc in Jessica Jones season 1.
Yeah.
So.
Honestly, I mean, even in the comics, he plays Luke Cage's character so close and so well to what Luke is in the comics, and that's what Luke does in the comics. He plays off of other characters in the comics. I mean, the conversations between Luke and Wolverine, Luke and Captain America, that's where he shines. The conversations between Luke and some random person, it's not that exciting. But seeing him in, I don't know, take your pick, Iron Man, at odds with one another and in an argument is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think that's the type of thing we want to see.
Yeah, Defenders will be the next big thing, I think. I mean, Iron Fist looks to be good, and I'm actually really excited for that one. I think that's, March? Isn't that one hit in March?
I believe.
Yeah.
So we have that to look, and then Defenders is end of this year, right? Sometime in the fall, like September-ish, maybe?
Probably.
Yeah, that's what they've been doing. It's like spring and then fall.
Okay.
Well, you figure, like, Jessica Jones was released in November of 2015, but I don't think Marvel did not have a November movie release that year. So 2017, they have Spider-Man in the summer, and they have Thor in November, so probably September would be a perfect time, like Luke Cage was. Luke Cage dropped in September because they had Doctor Strange in November.
Yeah.
So probably September would be a good time for them to put out Defenders, would be my guess.
Yeah.
So Iron Fist is, what, in a month or so?
2 months.
Probably about 2 months.
Yeah. I want to say the date was like March 13th, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember the number. I know there's a trailer out there that does give the actual release date. I just, for the life of me, can't remember what date they listed on there.
Yeah. When it gets closer, I'll look at it and be like, okay, so it's that day that I gotta sit and watch this whole season.
Apparently, March 17th.
Yeah, thank God
17th.
for Netflix releasing an entire season altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
season
power
2 of
watcher,
Voltron's
so.
coming.
Oh,
I'm getting excited.
I'm fucking pumped.
That's in like 2 weeks. Yeah, I caught that trailer today. I'm getting pretty pumped for that one.
Oh, there's a trailer for it already. Damn it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you later. All right, so I think that's probably a good place to wrap up Luke Cage. I think we probably did as good as we're going to get for some of us not having watched it for like 3 months.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Josh, did you have anything else? Or was that the last one?
No, yeah, I'll hand it over. Go ahead.
Andy, I want to make sure we get in here with you before you have to jet.
Okay.
So what have you been up to? What do you feel like talking about?
Been playing a couple of board or / card games lately. They've been pretty awesome. We picked up Fallout Collector's Edition Monopoly. It's been pretty badass.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. The Collector's Edition has dog meat as one of the tokens you can take around the board, so it's been pretty cool.
Does it focus on just like Fallout 4, or does it touch on all?
I think it's all of them because there's Vault 111, Vault 101, and Vault 13 as spaces, so.
Okay.
Which I think encompasses a bunch of them, but I've only played Fallout 4, so I don't really know.
Okay, I've only played 3, so.
So that's been pretty fun, but I mean, there's not much to say about that other than, it's Monopoly. So,
yeah.
you land on Park Place with a hotel and you are just fucked, so.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, kids, if you haven't played Monopoly, get out there and do it.
Yes,
it's fun.
It's quite.
There's going to be an argument.
Yes.
People are going to hate each other afterwards. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Get out there and
that
do
whole "Do Not Pass Go" reference Andy made earlier will make a lot more sense.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to imagine that references like that might skim over people because I feel like Monopoly is one of those things that everyone does, but maybe not.
I also love the idea that like some 12-year-old is a habitual listener of this show.
That's our target audience. What are you talking about?
I a card game I got for Christmas is an Archer card game called Once You Go Blackmail. It is a love letter game. I don't know if anybody's played the love letter card game. I didn't even know that it existed, but I've only played the Archer version of it. But it's pretty badass. I would recommend playing it. Strangely enough, there are only 16 cards, but it is a 4-player game. I thought
So
that
what do
was
you
odd
have to
as
do?
well. But you're basically gathering intelligence with these 16 cards, and so far I'm having an absolute blast with it, and I plan on picking up more of the love letter collection. I think there's a Batman love letter and a couple other cool ones, like a Christmas one. Maybe.
Are they just like their own separate decks, or do you add those cards?
No,
to the
they're
deck
not.
you
They're
currently
not
have?
expansions or anything like that.
Okay.
So been playing those. Been pretty awesome. Also got the collector's edition of Skyrim. What is that called for Xbox One?
Oh, like the remastered.
Yeah, the remaster with you can like mod it up and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to playing all the mods and being able to use lightsabers and Deadpool and all kinds of other ridiculousness in Skyrim. So that should be pretty cool.
Did you play Skyrim before, or is this the first time you played it?
I've seen people play the Skyrim for PS3, but I did not myself play it. I did play a bunch of Oblivion, though, and I'm a fan of Elder Scrolls in general.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to it. I did just start playing without the mods, just to kind of give it a go. I think I only got to, like, maybe the first dragon word or whatever. But it's fun. I like it so far.
I picked that up myself as well. Just honestly, like I screwed up when I picked that one up because I played it originally on PS3 and I bought it for Xbox One and I thought I had played it for 360 so I could transfer like,
your
the save
save
games over,
yeah.
everything. Couldn't do it. So
yeah, I
because
guess
I was stupid. And I'm having to play back through everything just so I can get to a high enough level that the mods will be fun.
Yeah.
Because like it, like the lightsaber mod. If I get the lightsaber mod, I do not want to have to hack and slash at a
mud crab.
Yeah, I don't want to have to hack and slash to kill insignificant beings in this realm. So I want to kind of get there again and see how it goes. But that's a lot of a time investment, and
your time is spent in Destiny right now.
Yes, it is. But
that's one thing I never really got back into is Destiny. I never, like, the Rise of Iron really didn't intrigue me at all, and I got tired of leveling up all my stuff, so I just kind of gave up on Destiny. But the only other thing I have been doing is I picked up 2 volumes of He-Man and the Thundercats crossover. Yeah. Pretty badass.
Nice.
Is that all that's out right now? Is just 2 issues, or is there more?
Third one just came out in December. I've yet to pick it up, but I recently read these 2. I think I read them yesterday, actually. But, yeah, pretty awesome. Skeletor and Mumra, both the antagonists for the different worlds. Skeletor for He-Man and Mumra for Thundercats. Pretty badass so far. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, some of those crossovers are just so crazy and weird that you just got to check them out and see what they're like.
Yeah, like I loved watching He-Man and Thundercats like separately as cartoons when I was younger. So when I found out there was a crossover, I was like, "Ooh, giddy!" But I just found out that it's only a 6 comics crossover. So
yeah, they're usually short runs. I mean, I want to say they did like 4 where they crossed over My Little Pony and Transformers.
Oh my god, that's a thing. What the fuck?
Didn't I see sometime coming up that like Justice League and the Power Rangers are crossing over?
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, I think I saw that too.
Yeah, okay. The only way that I'm ever seeing another Transformers movie is if that's it. and you know what? The ponies have to be the antagonists.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they have to be the bad guys, absolutely.
I want to see some dark and twisted, like 1980s Tom Cruise legend style demonic freaking ponies, and then I will go see a Transformers movie.
Sold me. I'd be there to watch that one.
Yeah. That's the can't look away thing.
Yes.
Andy, do you have anything else, or was that it?
I don't know that I have been doing much of anything else. Oh, I've took to start rewatching the Super Mario Brothers Super Show on Netflix.
Yes. Yes.
And I was literally doing the Mario. Do the Mario. Take your hands from side to side, or whatever he does. You know. And it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, quite ridiculous. I've watched 10 or 11 episodes, and they keep taunting me with like the Legend of Zelda cartoons and whatnot. Are those actually on Netflix in the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, or is that something separate? I can't remember.
No,
if
I
it
don't
was a
remember.
part
It's
of
been
the
so long
Super
since
Mario
I watched
Brothers
the
Super
show.
Show, but they keep they're like, hey, on the next episode of Legend of Zelda, I'm like, show me Zelda, please. But
So is it painful to get through?
oh
or
my,
is it just
it's fucking horrible, man. I mean, the cartoons are not bad. You know, the cartoons are actually pretty enjoyable, but the Mario actor is just like the real life actor is just atrocious. Luigi I
Would
can
you-
handle, but the Mario guy, I just
the big question: would you
oh,
rather watch
Lord.
the TV show or the movie?
Ooh.
oh my
TV
god,
show.
drawn and quartered or hanged. I mean, I don't really.
Yeah.
I don't know. Burned alive. I can't. I don't know.
I think I actually read somewhere recently that the Super Mario Brothers movie is going to get a Blu-ray release sometime within the next couple months.
Okay, hands up. Who's gonna get it? Oh, I don't see any hands.
I might buy it. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh wow. Okay.
No.
If I can find it for like $10 or lower,
At
I'd
least,
probably pick it up.
at least the movie has Bob Hoskins, and you know what? He's a pretty damn good actor. And John
Him and John Leguizamo, I think,
John
gave it their
Leguizamo,
all.
yeah.
Like, it's no fault of them.
And Dennis Hopper, you know, not too bad a
He-
cast, but
Hopper was fucking weird in that movie, but
Yeesh.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say this, Brian. If you buy that, you are encouraging future activity like that from movie companies.
You're an enabler.
I'm still waiting for my Super Mario Brothers 2. I figure if I buy the Blu-ray, maybe they'll do it.
You know what? If Luigi jumps and kicks his little feet and hangs in the air a little bit longer because he did it in the movie, I'm all for it. Okay, especially if it's John Leguizamo again, just to see.
Maybe they have to, right?
They start throwing
Why not?
radishes at people.
Yeah, throw radishes. The princess can levitate.
So I
Have
love the
Toad running
idea
around
that
fucking useless.
since that movie was made, there have been like literally 68 other Super Mario games at like escalating levels of graphics quality. But for some reason, you guys assume that if they were to make a movie sequel, it would have to be based off of Super Mario Brothers 2, the NES game.
It's gotta be, you know.
Can we just go out on a limb here and say that there is 0 Super Mario Brothers games that have content that is worthy of cinema? Think about the games that are out there for Super Mario. He goes around collecting stars in Super Mario 64. Super Mario, what is it, Sunshine? He has the vacuum, where he just kind of sucks shit up into it.
I will argue in terms of being able to craft a storyline, you could turn Super Mario Brothers 3 into something, because you have you have an adventure story going from like world to world, different terrains, different geographic settings. You can play with time, not time travel, but physics in a way if you find warp whistles.
So what you're saying is you see somebody taking The Taming of the Shrew and turning into 10 Things I Hate About You with Super Mario Brothers.
Quite possibly.
Okay.
I definitely think
I'm
Luigi's
just-
Mansion could be a movie, right?
Is that the one?
Luigi trying to bust ghosts in a horror type setting, that would totally work.
Was that GameCube?
That was GameCube, yeah.
I never got
Yeah.
to play that one, but it did look intriguing.
I mean, Mario is missing. where you just kind of roam streets.
There you go.
for
John
hours on
Leguizamo
end.
headlighting Luigi's Mansion.
You know what? I think honestly, I think the next Mario movie should be a Mario Kart movie.
There you go.
Or Smash Brothers.
What would the plot be?
Of which one?
Either.
With a Smash Brothers and Mario Kart movie, I was thinking along the lines of like what they did with the Resident Evil movies that were CG, and I think you could make an awesome movie out of that for Smash Brothers.
Okay.
Live action, though, I think you're just asking for a disaster one way.
Well, what if Mario Kart was more like Fast and the Furious?
Sold.
with all the colorful characters driving the cars.
Oh, hell yes.
Sold.
So long as I have a red shell that seeks out the person in front of you and blows up their car or something, I'm all for it.
With all
Mario
the
Kart without a red
ridiculousness.
shell, I'm not in.
and you got to get the battle mode in there too, right?
Oh,
The
yeah.
balloons.
Yep.
Pop some balloons, yeah.
I mean, it would essentially be like Mad Max, but with
Yes,
Yeah.
that.
Oh, there we go.
more silly weapons. You
Yep,
know.
you said Mad Max. I don't want to hear anymore. That's it. That's
Fast
the
and
movie.
the Furious, Mad Max composite meets Mario Kart.
I want it now.
Take my money.
Yeah.
Honestly, you could take everything you have in your pocket right now, and they could probably find a way to make it for that, because they're not giving that a budget.
All right, so Andy, do we finish up on all your stuff? Because I think you're going to have to get going.
Yes. Yep, I got to everything I think I've been doing lately.
All right, well then this is where we shall leave you.
Okay. Thank you for having me on. It was fun as always, and I will talk to you guys later.
Sounds good, buddy.
All right,
Take care, sir.
take it easy.
All right. Andy is gone. So, Mike, I guess it's down to you and I. Would you like to go, or do you want me to go?
I'll go. Yeah, the show can. The host can go last. That's
Okay.
customary, I would think.
Fair enough.
Well, what I've been doing lately is, I've been playing a lot of Destiny.
Yes.
For those who don't know, Destiny's a video game. Been out for quite some time, 3-4 years now. It's a pretty awesome game. Been spending way too much time with it.
Yeah, Mike and I have been playing a bunch of other games, and then I think we were talking somehow about Destiny. I was actually talking to Destiny, I think, to somebody else. And then Mike started questioning me about it, and as he was questioning me about it, he goes, okay, we'll figure it out later. I'm downloading it now.
Yeah. I mean, I get bored with games. I don't want to say quickly, because, quickly would not be the correct statement for, like, Star Wars Battlefront, because I put 120 hours or something into that game. Or Battlefield, which I've already probably put 60 or 70 hours into, something like that,
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's quickly, but I do that in a short period of time because I don't work a whole lot this time of year. Business gets kind of slow, and I needed something new, and you were talking good things about Destiny, so I just kind of had to get in on it. To give everybody a general idea, the amount of time of my life I'm wasting on this game, Brian said that another friend of his picked it up, and it took him about 2 months to get to a certain level in the game you needed to be to do everything. I think I covered that in about 8 days.
Yeah, you've been moving pretty good.
Yeah, I'm up to 374, so I'm moving pretty quick, I think. But it's a fun game. There's not a whole lot to be said about it at this point. It's not new. There's nothing exciting as far as newness goes there.
I mean, you say that, but there's a lot of people I feel like that still, like you, have came to the game late. Well, not late, but I mean, like, just after everybody else, and has now started to pick it up and get into it, and trying to catch up, I guess, to all of us that have been playing for a while.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that had to do with when the game came out, it got very meager reviews when it first came out, just because it was, they say, kind of the same complaints there were about Battlefront, about it being an incomplete game.
Yeah.
At launch, and people weren't really a fan of that, and now that it was a complete game, I was willing to give them less than the original purchase price for all of the content that they had put out through the years.
Yeah, that's a good thing. If you wait it long enough, at least a year probably for games, you can get all the game, all of the additional content for probably half the price of the original game. So if you don't mind waiting, you can capitalize on these deals that they have later on in the life cycle of the game.
Yes. And speaking of games, there is one that, it's not what I'm doing right now, but it is what I will be doing for a large portion, I want to say, of next week. Because Resident Evil 7 does come out. And if you like horror movies, if you like horror video games, survival horror, anything like that, go out and pick this game up, or at least play the demo and see what you're in for. This is an entirely different direction for the Resident Evil series. It's not going to be third person. This is a first person game. It's very creepy. It's going to be incredible. At least that's what the demo was. The demo is the type of game, it feels like very similar to an old Silent Hill game, but more tension, I would say. You're afraid to take every turn in this game. Every corner you're coming around, you're actually hesitant, trying to peek out before you turn that corner. Just because this creepy ass dude that's walking around this old house in the woods might be there to bash you in the skull with a wrench. And
so is it not zombies?
Well, we don't know a whole lot of that yet.
Okay.
There is a monster of some sort in the basement.
Okay.
But in the demo, you don't, they're being very tight-lipped. It looks similar to something that appeared in Resident Evil Revelations.
Okay.
But there is no confirmation on any part about whether it is one of those or it's something else. And there's also no confirmation that what takes place in the demo isn't a hallucination, because you do wake up in a room where you were tied to a chair. The intro cinematic is, how you're tied to a chair in a room, and how a dying friend cuts your hands loose is how the game starts. And then you pass out and you wake up in this room alone by yourself. You don't know what's going on. So without knowing more of the story, it's hard to say whether there is going to be zombies or not. There's definitely something wrong with these people.
Right.
But you don't know what exactly. So.
Okay, gotcha.
Soon, I hope to find out.
Yeah, we'll check in later and see what you think of the game later.
Yeah. I mean, as a demo goes, it was actually incredibly in-depth for what it was. There was actually, I want to say 4 or 5 different endings to the demo that you could get.
Mm-hmm.
There was several different ways to accomplish a task. Basically, you wake up in the room and they're like, get out of the house. They don't give you any instruction on how to do it, what to do, anything like that. It's just, get out of the house. And there's several different ways you can do it. Some of them have bad endings, some of them have good endings. And very interesting in that respect.
Okay.
I'll move on from that, since there's not a whole lot to say more about it at this point. I did pick up, as I stated, I think before the show, and start reading the Ahsoka novel. The new Star Wars canon. I'm only about a chapter in, so once again, this isn't something I can say a whole lot about.
Yeah.
But it is something that I'm getting into.
I've heard good things about that one.
Yeah, it was one of the highest reviewed, is why I was thinking I was going to go with Lords of the Sith next, but I kind of shifted gears and said, let me read the Ahsoka novel. So I have high hopes for it. I love the character, so hopefully it's done justice in this book.
Yeah.
And for any who are interested and into it, the new season of Sherlock started this past weekend. First episode came out. If you watch the show, Moriarty's back, but I'm not going to give any spoilers on what happens in the first episode.
Yeah, don't, because it's on the DVR.
Watch it for yourself.
I still got to watch it myself.
Have you watched the first 3 seasons? Have you finished them up?
Yes, actually, I was actually going to bring that up. I think when when it got to my turn, because I think it was prior to Doctor Strange, I was like, oh, I'm going to watch some Cumberbatch stuff. So I decided to do that one. I didn't finish the first 3 seasons before Doctor Strange. I did finish them after Doctor Strange come out. But yeah, the first 3 seasons I thought were phenomenal, and I was really excited to see season 4 was coming. I actually didn't know when it was coming out or where to watch it, so I just kind of figured that out the other day.
Oh, okay.
So I think the second episode is this Sunday, right? I think.
Well, I believe so.
I thought it was. Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. So yeah, hopefully this weekend I can catch up on the first 2.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they are 1.5-hour episodes. You do got to have some time to sit down and watch one. But did you catch The Abominable Bride? That was last year. They did. It's a standalone one shot. Same thing, movie length episode. You got to buy that. Like, you either got to find it separately or buy it separately. I think it is on Netflix.
I was gonna say, I think there is a standalone episode on Netflix. I haven't watched it. If that's the one you're referring to, if that's the title of it, then no, I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah, I would watch that before you start watching the new season.
Oh,
it
okay.
does. It possibly could have implications. It's not, it is a Sherlock full-on deal. It's a take on it, but I think they're going to tie into it, personally.
Okay, fair enough.
Um,
Have you watched all that stuff, Josh?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah, really enjoy it. It's very good television production. There's not a whole lot from the BBC that actually keeps my attention. Friends recommend things all the time, and it doesn't gel very well with me. But the
Talking
writing
about Doctor Who?
a little bit, and just in general. Not to say that it's not, not to say that BBC and Great Britain aren't making, good things. It just doesn't strike the right chord with me a lot of the time.
Fair enough.
But yeah, Sherlock, and to be fair, I think it's kind of the same attraction that like Sheldon has on Big Bang Theory. There's definitely something in the neuroticism of Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal of Sherlock that draws you to him and keeps you wanting it. And then it's very smart. It's very smart writing, for anybody to be able to. It's almost like all those scenes are like reverse engineered. If they want to write this 2-minute monologue of Sherlock explaining how he deduced something, the amount of knowledge someone has to have about it, they have to come up with that on their own. This isn't just an actual human who thinks and knows all these things. Some writer in a room thought that a human could observe all these things around him and about other people just by all these little clues and all these little subtleties. And it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
There is a good bit of it drawn from the Sherlock Holmes novels. A lot of the stories are direct, at least in the first 2 seasons. A lot of the stories are directly linked to stories that were told, I guess that's 160 years ago or so the first time.
Yeah.
And, like the Hound of Baskerville episode was, to me, one of the weakest episodes they did, but it played very close with a modern storyline to what the original story as it was told. And if you look at the titles of the episodes, you'll see which ones actually are based directly on old stories, because you can obviously go get a list of all the old Sherlock stories and read the ones that tie to the episodes to see how they compare. And you can't say enough, honestly. Sherlock gets you to watch, but Martin Freeman as John Watson, he keeps you there.
Yeah, that's true.
The two of them play off of each other so damn well that you can't not watch this.
Yeah.
When it's, you wouldn't think they would do so well together, but surprisingly they are perfect on screen together.
John Watson's kind of a badass. Like, I was
Yeah.
a little surprised how much of a badass he is in that show.
Yeah, I mean it's part of what makes it fun, is that Sherlock really actually is too. When it comes down to like hand-to-hand combat, the guy's actually trained and everything, and he kicks the hell out of people when they actually attempt it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's got its action, it's got its everything going on. So to anybody who hasn't watched it, get with it, get with the program. And Benedict Cumberbatch is one of the hottest things going out there these days, so
he is dreamy.
I didn't mean it in that sense, but yes, he is dreamy.
And I think it's not as it doesn't seem as high of a barrier of something to get into as a lot of things. Like you mentioned Doctor Who, like I've said it before, like it's one of the main reasons I haven't really dived into that. You know, I do like science fiction. I probably would enjoy it. It's hard to jump into something that's 10 years old already.
Yeah.
You know, people tell me the same thing about Supernatural, or you know, even shows from the 90s that I never really got into. Like my wife would love me to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer with her. It's like 6, 7, 8 seasons. Like it's too much when I can just start something fresh, brand new that just got produced, and I can be with it from, you know, start to finish or something. But Sherlock, yeah, the episodes are long, but each series is only 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So you get, it's only like 4 to 5 hours for each season, and then there's only three seasons, and then the one Abominable Bride special, and that's it.
Yeah, right now you've got 11 episodes that have ever been made of this show.
Yeah.
And that does not seem very daunting to find time to watch 11 episodes. Whereas catching up on Game of Thrones is probably 80 hours of time that I have to find space for.
At this point, yeah.
So it's not necessarily that you don't want to catch up on Game of Thrones. That's a daunting task. It's like it begins to feel like homework, and I don't like it when shows end up that way. You know, it like you have to watch it, otherwise you're never gonna catch up. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like I get behind on those because it's too much. You know, like I'm never gonna catch up, so why start?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Brian, what are you actually spending your time on, as opposed to the stuff that you're not getting to?
Well, I guess that would sort of get into my list. Mike, are you done, or do you have other stuff?
Yeah, that's pretty much it right now.
Okay, I didn't want to cut you off.
No, you did.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I have been playing some games. Obviously, I've been playing a lot with Mike. We've been doing Battlefield Destiny. I picked up a couple games that were on sale for Christmas. I played a little bit of Just Cause 3, which is just dumb, stupid fun of just go to a, Mexican city, island, town thing and just cause massive destruction, and that's how you progress through the game. So I'm totally down with that. I also picked up Far Cry 4. I think it was that game with all the DLC that was on sale, so I picked that one up because I've been wanting to play that. And actually haven't had time to play that one yet. I've been distracted with too many other games that I keep coming back to. So, but at least I have it. Like, I'll get to it eventually. And then, as far as what I've been watching, I think that's probably a little bit more interesting than the games. I did start watching, I guess going back to the whole Benedict Cumberbatch thing that I was trying to absorb prior to Doctor Strange. I did Sherlock, and then Imitation Game was on Netflix with him and Keira Knightley. So that was a really good movie. I really liked that one. I
watched that too.
That was the code breaking, I think, in World War II?
Yeah, they were code breaking the Enigma machine.
Yeah, So I thought that was really well done. And I don't know, there was I've sort of been on a kick lately of based on a true story type movies. And I think I mentioned it maybe the last time we did this, but I'd watched Straight Outta Compton at one point, which was really good. I like that one. The one that I watched within the last week that I really enjoyed, that was actually I think it was one for best screenplay and maybe best drama last year, or 2015, not last year. was Spotlight. Did anybody see Spotlight?
Yeah, that was really good.
Spotlight. Which one was that?
Spotlight was the Boston Globe breaking the story on the Catholic Church and all the priests that were molesting kids.
Yeah, I did watch that. That's what's his name? The Hulk, Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo's in
Yeah.
there. Michael Keaton, Rachel McAdams. Yeah, I was really surprised how much I enjoyed that one. I think the story built up pretty well from like them just trying to research this one thing and how it grows exponentially into something a lot bigger than anyone thought it was. And how they deal with a lot of those realizations and how they get the story together and stuff like that. So it's odd. Like, it's not one of those movies I feel like I'd want to watch, like, going into it that I'd want to watch again. But immediately when I was done watching it, I'm like, well, shit, I have to watch this again. I have to show this to other people. I must find reasons to watch this.
Nice.
So I haven't done that yet, but I did like it enough that I feel like I need to watch it again.
Another good one in that same ilk is The Big Short.
Oh, yeah. I did watch that one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fantastic movie.
That one, I think, for me, took a little bit to get going, because, like, it was... The way it's edited and the story is put together in the beginning of the movie is a little bit hard to get on board with.
Yeah,
Like,
I would agree.
It's cut up a little bit weird, and the way they start to tell the story is a little bit... It's unique. So I think
it all
maybe
makes
after
much more sense the second time.
Yeah.
That one I watched the second time just to make more sense of everything at the beginning.
Yeah,
So-
I did. I think, the first time through, I think after like 10 or 15 minutes, I was in, and it was fine the rest of the way. But yeah, that was another one I actually really liked too. That was Adam McKay, I think, directed that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
he's normally like Will Ferrell jokey movie, and like does something pretty serious that actually worked pretty well.
Yeah.
He got a few good jokes in there too. I mean,
yeah.
the whole let's cut to Margot Robbie in a bubble bath to explain this. Like he got his jokes in.
Yeah,
He did. Well, I think I think he was. You could tell he was passionate about the subject matter. I remember in the years following the financial collapse, he was somebody who was from Hollywood, was very vocal about his feelings about it. And I think even not The Big Short, off the top of my head, I can't remember. Do you remember if he directed? I'm gonna look it up. Did he direct The Other Guys with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg?
I want to say yes, because I'm assuming most Will Ferrell movies are directed by Adam McKay.
This is true. I'm gonna be there in 2 seconds. Yes, he did. So that movie came out in 2010, and I remember towards the end of that movie, it took this kind of sharp right turn. In talking about, like, the plot kind of ended, related to the financial collapse, even though it wasn't really integral to the rest of the movie. And then during the credits, there was, a lot of editorial about the impact of the financial markets and what had happened, and it didn't really fit with the rest of the movie, and I thought it was a little strange, but he's obviously had strong feelings about it for these many years, so when he had the chance to take on that project, you could tell it was a passion project for him, and it came out really well.
Right, yeah. I felt that even watching Spotlight. Like, I can't remember who directed Spotlight, but I felt like they were really invested in the material, and I think that's why that movie turned out really well.
Definitely.
Two other movies that I checked out. I finally got around to watching Spectral, which was the Netflix movie. I can't remember who else is in that. Bruce Greenwood, I know, is in it, and
Isn't I always mix them up. Not Emily Watson.
Emily Mortimer.
Emily Mortimer, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was
So
it?
that's like
I
with-
saw it. I saw it on the list, but I didn't get to watch it yet. How was it?
I liked it. It wasn't as good as I wanted it to be.
Okay.
I maybe, like, I don't know if it felt a little bit less of a, I don't know, maybe I expected a little bit more big budgety stuff. Like, the effects and stuff were really well.
Okay.
But I think a lot of the set pieces didn't feel as big as I wanted them to be. It had a little bit of, if anybody has seen Battle LA with Aaron Eckhart.
Yes.
about the alien invasion and stuff like that. It has that kind of feel, I think, to it.
Okay.
Where it's real kind of like boots on the ground, smaller squad, like you're seeing it from the soldier's point of view and what's happening, and them trying to figure it out. I was hoping the end of the movie would end up like Ghostbusters, but just like army people. And it didn't go that way.
Oh, okay. Still worth a watch, though?
Yeah, I'd say check it out if you're interested.
Okay.
It didn't, like I said, it didn't end the way I thought it would. It didn't, but like as far as the effects and like the ghost spectral things that happen, all that stuff I thought was really, really cool. And then the last movie I got around to seeing, which I don't know if we'll actually do a main review on it, like devote a half an episode or something to it, so I'll just touch on it now, was Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I saw it.
I did not see it yet.
I mean, it was good. I don't understand why it's getting a lot of hate. Like, it's being bashed by everybody. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it does much that's like, this is the greatest, the video game movies are going to catch on now. This is going to go forward and everyone's going to follow this template. No, I don't think it's that tier yet. If you're fans of the games, I think you'll appreciate it a little bit more. They don't spend enough time probably in the Spanish Inquisition era that you would like. Like if you're going to the movie to see assassin stuff, you're not going to get a lot of it, or maybe as much as you'd want. All that stuff I thought was really well done. I thought it was shot fairly well. There's a lot of quick cuts and some shaky cam stuff that didn't sit well with me, but what they were trying to choreograph and do all looked really cool, and that's what I wanted from an Assassin's Creed movie. They leave it open, so I don't know if they're going to do another sequel or first sequel, because I don't think this made a lot of money, so who knows if that'll ever get continued. But Josh, not really having played the games, what did you think of the movie?
I was just going to say, throw my 2 cents in from sort of an unbiased position on it. I thought it was watchable as a movie, but not that I found it boring, but I found it surprisingly linear. In that, I'll try to keep it unspoilery for Mike. There's periods where it basically, it's like, I wouldn't say episodic, but it goes from the present day part of the narrative where he's present day Michael Fassbender is locked up by the company using him, and then they put him in the machinery to access his ancestor. And then you get a couple of minutes of the narrative of his ancestor, but all the stuff that's happening with the ancestor, that's what was like a chapter. Like, the whole point is the people in the present are trying to gain knowledge about something that happened in the past so that they can do something in the present. So every time he goes back into the past, it's just like the next piece. But I guess I didn't think that every piece that they were showing you from the past, it wasn't like a revelation. You weren't learning anything that you had to understand to get to the next step, to unravel, they were just showing you the next piece of the story that had already happened.
Yeah.
And so inevitably, about halfway through, I realized, oh, okay, well, every time they do this, they're just going to eventually get to the point in time where they want to see the piece of information they're looking for, and then the present day narrative will continue forward, which exactly what happened. And then, like you said, at the end, it definitely leaves right off for a sequel with nothing really having been gained.
Yeah.
So like I said, for me it was watchable, but I don't know, as a non-gamer, I didn't think it was that spectacular.
Yeah, and it's a little bit sad because a lot of times movie studios take a video game property and they do with it what they will, and a lot of times it's against what the video game company has in mind for that property. This movie was made in conjunction with Ubisoft, who makes the games, and yet this movie still turned out the way it did. So I don't know, I don't know if I don't want to say video game properties are not able to be made in movies, because I think there's a way to do it, just people haven't done it right yet.
Well,
but the fact that they had the video game studio involved in this and they still couldn't crack that code is you're just kind of left going, well, what do they need still to be able to crack this code and make a good video game movie?
I have the answer to that question. It's a very easy answer.
Offer it up.
Let Joss Whedon direct a BioShock movie. Turn it over to somebody like Joss Whedon or J.J. Abrams, somebody that can delve into it the proper way, that knows how to make the right movie. I mean, think about what a lot of superhero movies were before Joss Whedon got involved.
Right.
So you think it's just director? They just haven't found the right pairing of property and
production.
Director.
I mean, what video game movie have they made that they put somebody like Joss Whedon or J.J. Abrams or Spielberg behind? I mean, they really haven't, and it's because of that stigma on the video game movies, thanks in part to Super Mario Brothers, among others, Mortal Kombat, etc., so on down the list.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, but if you take a property that has the rich, unique storyline like BioShock, Mass Effect, to a lesser extent, but still there, Fallout, take something that has its own unique, but still doable storyline. I mean, a lot of the games that have that are very much dystopian games. And go with it. I mean, it's there for them to do.
Yeah, the only problem with that is, like, a lot of those games, especially something like Mass Effect, like, as much as I love that game franchise, and I would love to see a Mass Effect movie, the amount of story that they put in one game, which you can play for 40 to 60 hours, I don't know how much they can fit it into a 2-hour movie.
Right.
And I think, for me, I know that's probably a big part of the reason that they're keeping me out of their market for their movies in a way, because a lot of the stuff for the last 15 years has already been so cinematic in scope to begin with that you have to condense and crunch it. But it also, I mean, it feels to me like what comic book movies suffered from for so long, like from the late 90s to the early 2000s, like basically up to like Batman Begins, was they cared too much about fan service.
Yeah.
That's what the movie was just 2 hours of fan service. And to some degree, it felt like Assassin's Creed might have been going for that too much.
There was actually a lot of times when they would just name drop things from the game. I feel like so it's like, oh, remember this from the game? This is what it's called.
Right. And from what
I heard that 3 or 4 times.
And from what people have told me, like this Spanish Inquisition main storyline, like that is one of the Assassin's Creed games, correct? Sort of, maybe.
Romano would probably be able to confirm that for you better. I don't remember what decades or time periods they've actually covered.
Well,
as far as I know, the answer to that is no.
Oh, okay. Because if it had been, one of my suggestions would have been, I think with video games they try to adapt the storyline of an existing game too much, like in the same exact like they did with comic books. Like, here's one story, and we're just gonna make a movie out of that. Just make an original story for this property that happens to be a cinematic story as opposed to a video game story. I mean, if they did that with this, okay. But I think there's a lot of learning curve that they still need to find.
Yeah. And maybe they're picking, like, sort of the wrong property to do. Like, I think to your credit, like, what you were sort of setting up, Josh, like, being able to craft a different story, but still using sort of like the framework of the games. The framework of the games that work well are the ones that have characters that people invest in. Assassin's Creed, even though I've played a couple of the games, the main character isn't usually someone that I'm really invested in. I think something like Mass Effect or the Uncharted series, you get so tied up in those characters and their personalities and how they play off each other that if you just take those people and put them in a different setting, not necessarily following the story of a game, but craft a story in that universe using these characters, I think that would work better. And I don't know if that's something that they've done before.
Uncharted would be right at the top of that list, because every Uncharted game feels like a whole new experience. And it's, it's very Indiana Jones-esque.
Yes.
It has that ability to just be its own thing, that they just go, okay, so they did El Dorado, they did, this, that, the other, go do something else that he's chasing after this time.
Yeah.
That could absolutely work. And on the note of, do we honestly think that Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans get made if God of War wasn't such a success? God of War would make a hell of a movie if they did it right.
I was just talking to somebody at work where they were suggesting that Kratos should have just been in Clash of the Titans and just called it the God of War movie.
Sure. It could have worked. Now it would feel like wrong to do a God of War movie. It wouldn't feel right because of that.
Yeah, now it feels like God of War is copying Clash of the Titans. Right.
And if you look back at the old stuff, essentially they kind of were, but the old things were so god awful that but there's a lot of games out there that could be transmitted into movies. And I want to say a Gears of War movie is in the making. It's that very early pre-production stage, and it's something I feel like that's another game they could tell a small story in. Just lay the groundwork of what's going on with the war, what's happened to the Earth in, a prologue, and move on into the battle that an individual group that they choose to follow is fighting.
Yeah, if they set up the first movie as like investing in characters and building the characters, and that just barely sets up the story or the big like trilogy story arc or something, and then 2 and 3 hit them harder with the story now that your characters are developed, I think that would work a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. We cracked the code, Hollywood. Call us up. We'll craft you a story.
Yeah, I want to say Christopher Nolan cracked that code, and we're just repeating the same thing for video games.
There you go. Yeah. You'd think if it's out there, it'd be a little bit easier for them to follow that code too. But if we have to tell them, hey, we'll do that.
It's Hollywood, man. You're going to get whatever they think is going to make money.
Well, yeah, that's true too.
And there's always going to be somebody in that room that knows absolutely nothing about what they're doing, that's going to have a lot of money behind it and all the input.
Yep.
So.
Yep. That's everywhere. That's work. That's Hollywood. That's
the world, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. So I had one other thing that I've been watching that I've been waiting to get into it. It took me a while. I finally got around to watching all 10 episodes of Westworld. Did anybody else watch Westworld or get into it at all?
I would put that as something that's in my queue.
Okay. Josh, did you get around to that at all or no?
I did not, but unfortunately she is not around, but Sarah did. She watched the whole series.
Yeah, okay. All right, you got to catch up then. Because I do think, like, if other people wanted to watch it, that's definitely something I'd do an episode on, because I thought that series was really, really well done.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I'm glad that I didn't watch it like as it was going on, like week to week, because I think at that point in between the weeks, I would have like been looking for answers online. And from what I listened to a podcast where they talked about the series as a whole, where some of the people did that, and basically a lot of the fan theories that people were throwing out there early after like the first couple episodes turned out to be right by the end of the series. Now, if I would have read that stuff after 3 episodes in, and then by the time I got to the end, being like, oh, I read this. Like, I feel like that would ruin the viewing experience for me. So because I stepped away from all that stuff and I just watched it episode to episode, not really looking for theories or what stuff's happening, what kind of makes sense, the twists were intact for me when they happened, and I enjoyed the show a lot more because of it.
That's good to know. Okay. That means, very simply, start watching it. Do not look at spoilers in any way. Don't look at anything that could spoil anything once you do.
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to do it. If you like keeping that stuff intact, if you're one of those people that likes to speculate and like to look up theories and stuff like that and see before it happens, then by all means, go ahead and look that stuff up. But me personally, I enjoyed the experience not knowing any of that stuff going in. And it's... I don't want to say it ends on a cliffhanger. I think it ties up pretty well for a first season. I think I read too that the second season isn't coming until 2018. So there's a while to go to finally, if you want to catch up on it, you don't have to do it right now. You got a while to wait for the next
Sherlock
one.
all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say I watched those original 9 episodes of Sherlock the first time 2.5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's been a wait. But yeah, it's one I've been interested in with Westworld. I just, they haven't got around to sitting down and watching it yet. But
yeah, for anyone that
happen.
doesn't know what it is, it's like I sort of keep describing it as sort of like Jurassic Park, but instead of dinosaurs on an island, it's robots in a Western setting. Like it's I guess somewhere in the future where a corporation or company has made a Western civilization that's inhabited by these robot android personalities that each one is set up and programmed to follow their own story, their own narrative, and then guests pay to come to the Westworld park. And as they walk through, they can pretty much do whatever they want. They can shoot and kill or have sex with as many of these robots as they want. And then whatever happens to the robots, they fix them up, they put them back in rotation, and then the next guest can come in and possibly interact with them or not. It's just, depends on the quote-unquote player when they're in there. And then there's certain rules set up where the robots cannot harm human beings and that kind of thing. And early on in the show, something happens where the robots start to behave a little bit differently, and then that becomes one of the mysteries of the show, and it builds from there. And by the end, there's all kinds of shit that happens.
So chaos theory.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to get into detail. So if you guys want to watch it, if you get around to it, let me know. We can come back to talk about specifics, but it definitely has a high recommendation for me. So if anybody out there wants to check it out, I highly recommend it.
Cool.
Excellent. Good to know.
So that's all I got.
I will leave one quick last note, only because the episode that we recorded last week. So Brian, if you remember, one of the first 5 episodes, I think, of Bry Guy and Super Friends, we did a movies for the rest of 2015 you're looking forward to. And on my list was a movie called The Walk, with it was directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the French tight wire walker who broke into the Twin Towers in the 70s right before they officially opened, and strung up a high wire between them and walked across it. This was in 1974 or something. Well, I finally got around to watching it.
It was a good movie. I actually liked that one.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I did not watch it.
I refuse to watch it in 3D because I think it would freak me the fuck out. Because some of those angles are specifically shot for 3D. So if you see it in one of those 3D or premium format theaters, oh my god.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Josh, I actually think I found your list now that you mention it. I don't have anything listed for your number 10.
Okay.
But Monsters 2 was number 9.
Okay.
Inside Out was number 8.
Uh-huh.
Pitch Perfect 2 was 7.
Okay.
The Walk was 6.
Okay.
Jurassic World was 5.
Alright.
Insidious Chapter 3 was 4.
Good.
Spectre was 3. Crimson Peak was 2. Age of Ultron was 1.
Was 1. Alright, well, I don't remember what number 10 was either, but I have now officially cleared that list.
Yeah, that'll be all these lists that we make up, prepping for the year to come. I'm sure there's some of them. Of course, I'll have to go back and try to find the list that we did last year to see and that's something maybe if we get together and talk about last year's list to see if there's anything anybody didn't watch that they put on their most anticipated.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm sure there's some that people missed.
No, I crammed some last minute ones in the last 2 days of December, so I ticked everything off mine.
Yeah, there's still, I think, 1 or 2 that I want to try to fit in before we get to that episode, too. They're on my list. I still need to watch. I actually just watched The Jungle Book today.
Okay.
So I finally got around to what. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. I don't know if it'll make my top 10, but it was pretty good. But as far as this episode, I think that is where we'll finish this one. So if you've enjoyed the show and you keep coming back to listen, please stop by iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review. That will really help us out. Be sure to share, subscribe, favorite the show so we can keep coming back to invade your ear space. You can also find us on Facebook. You can search for Bry Guy and his Super Friends or go to www.facebook.com/BryGuySuperFriends. That's our Facebook page. Leave us a comment, questions, like us, whatever you would like to do. We'll be there. And on behalf of Mike, Andy, Josh, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you all next time.